Hello and welcome back to the S.H.E Gallery Show. Thank you for being with us tonight. We are with Miss Mo Parker. Miss Mo, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. And you are with us live on CAN TV. You are also welcome to call us throughout the segment at 312-738-1060. And you can always reach us live on through our website. You can always stream us live, and you can always reach us directly through our website at sharinghisenergygallery.net. You can always email us. You can always call me directly. So we're going to get started today. I had the pleasure of meeting Ms. Mo Parker recently, earlier this year. S.H.E Gallery was a part of Lake Effect's Creative Con at the Chicago Cultural Center. It was a super awesome event.
Really nice.
It
Got
was
a lot of great information.
And we had a great opportunity to network and stay in touch, and now we have Ms. Mo Parker here today. Ms. Mo Parker is a photographer of a newer generation, even though she's pretty old school, and we could see it through her work. We could see her soul and the roots, which you'll get a chance to look at later if you're not familiar with her work. But we're gonna go a little further back. We're gonna start at her roots. Now, you're originally from Okmulgee, Oklahoma.
Yes,
is that right?
yes, and you got it right. Most people don't get that right, so yeah.
I had to write like the oak tree and then Mulgee, like break it down.
You have to break it down. It's a lot easier once you get, because you just look at it and you're like, what is those?
Okamaga, what?
Yeah. No.
And from Oklahoma, and then in 2002 you moved to Chicago.
I did.
And then you mentioned that you felt like you really found Mo Parker when you got to Chicago. What was it about coming to Chicago, and what was the difference of the cities?
I think that Chicago just like broadened me. I feel like Oklahoma gave me a lot of who is Mo inside, you know, like it gave me a lot of manners and all that good stuff. But Chicago was like, you know what? Anything you want to do, it can actually happen here. There was no restrictions. It was just like, hey, if you want to be a photographer, be a photographer. This is your world. Do what you want to do. So it was a very open playing field here.
It felt like everything was at arm's reach.
Like if you want to do it, it's up to you to go do it. Like there's nothing to stop you.
And it truly is. That's really interesting because it was a different state of mind just from being in a different city, right? What was it about Chicago's culture that made you feel this way? Like, was it other photography? Was it the art? Was it the music?
It was everything. It's like everywhere you go. Okay, so driving here, like everywhere you go, there's like graffiti everywhere, and there's just the expression of art. It's like, okay, if you want to leave a piece of something behind, like after you're gone, I want something to be left of my view of this world, you know? And it was just like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? I tried to do graffiti, and it was bad. It was very bad. Though I still added it to my artwork. But photography was just my thing. Like, I've been doing it forever. So it was like, oh, wait, I can do that like all the time, and it's like, okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, you should still practice the graffiti. It is a very, very awesome artwork.
It's fun.
Yeah, so you were influenced, your love for the camera started at a really young age, right? And you had a first introduction, and then you had a reintroduction when you got to college.
Yes.
You want to talk to us a little bit more about both of these introductions?
Okay, so as a kid, like my father was always the photographer in the family, and like I've been hooked since Polaroid. I don't know if it was that little flip thing. It was like an instant. You're like, wait, that's my face. That's my face. And it was like,
instantly,
okay, that's, right. It was like this is the coolest thing, right? Even though there was there was film back then, but that Polaroid thing like set me off, and I was like, I always wanted to do that, and I always want to be the photographer for the family. But then once I got to college, I went to school for graphic design. But
Where did you study? Was that in Oklahoma or once you got to Chicago?
Once I got to Chicago,
where did you study?
At AIDT, and I took all the photography class. And I was just like, man, I could really like do this all the time. Like this is awesome. And I had a really great teacher that like really pushed me, you know, and that was just made me want to do all kind of craziness in photography and put the graphic design work with it just to switch it all up a little bit.
Yeah, some of you may remember a couple of weeks ago we had Tim Arroyo here and we talked about the development of photography and how it goes hand in hand with digital art. It seems like everybody that does one at this time just has to do the other. That's really interesting. Another really cool thing that I've noticed throughout all of our segments has been the importance of having this teacher influence. We either have had a really bad teacher and want to do better as teachers, some that have taken that route, or we've been inspired by a great teacher that just changed our lives for believing in us. So perhaps to all teachers. And then, so is this what brought you to Chicago? Was it school?
No, well, okay, school did bring me, but I moved here like to get to know my mother better and to go to nursing school.
To nursing school.
That's what I was gonna do. I was like gonna be like the hip hop RN. Like that was my mission. And I was always like super cool. Like that was always my thing because I was a nurse in Oklahoma. Okay. So that was always my thing. Like I used to dance with my clients and everything. It was a lot of fun. But once I got here, went to art school. I was like, okay, I don't want to deal with the politics of the medical field, and I really love expressing myself and capturing people's moments that, you know, they'll never get back again.
And you do that very well. So you've always been a healer. You're a healer. You were a nurse, you healed then, and then you healed through your work.
Well, that's a way to put it.
And you really do, because I just want to say her work is very, like, soothing. Her presence and energy alone is just, like, you can feel that. It's very comfortable. And then you could look at her work and see just how much emotion it carries. And this is a really fun one. Now you say that you learned this, you did this in school? This project?
No, this one actually was just like, I seen something that inspired me. And I was like, man, I need a team. If I could clone myself, that would be great. Which I still say today that would be awesome. But this was like my
yourself
rendition.
enough to want to clone yourself.
Yes.
I love it. Wow. Yeah, and please remember that you can always reach us through our website. You can always reach all of our guests from all of our previous shows and from season 1 and season 2. So shortly we'll have her information up here, and you can always reach all of our guests directly. So if you'd like more information, you know, you can always reach us back at sharinghisenergygallery.net. It's really awesome. So you're a healer, you take these classes, you come to Chicago, and even though you went to school, you're also very self-taught in a lot of ways. Can you please talk to us a little bit more about that and your process?
So in school, like, I was always that kid. Like, I may have missed a lot of classes, but I would always
We're always bad students too, right?
Yeah,
the creative
but I would
ones
always
were
come
doodling.
like right. I would always come like that last week and like catch up on everything.
Yeah.
Like in like 5 days, it was just like, you get on my nerve, but great work. I was like, thanks. So then I started like my sophomore year. I started bringing them stuff that I just seen on the internet, and I was like, how they do this? I have no clue how they did it. And then they would teach me. And then once I got to my junior year, I went and had a conversation with like all of the teachers that I really felt like touched me, and was like, if I just go out in the world and do this right now, you think that'd be okay? All of them gave me the green light and was like, hey, just go do your thing and enjoy it now, and build yourself and keep learning. And then if you just want to come to the degree later, you can do that.
Is that what you did?
So I did, and then now it's been all about YouTube University.
YouTube University.
And then there's a lot of places that you can learn. And I've met a lot of amazing photographers on my run that like teach me things, and we all learn from each other.
And you can see it through her work. It's really amazing. It's really capturing. And I've seen her shoot. She's like a whole different person. She's like very serious and dedicated, and you could tell that she's fully in touch with her subjects, which is really, really cool. So you mentioned a lot of like trial and error in your process, so you've had to practice a lot of patience through all of your years of learning.
That you'll figure it out one day. Like that's what like a lot of people like they come into this and they think, oh, I want my work to be like that person, but you didn't see the hours that a person had to put in. They say that you have to spend 10,000 hours on your craft in order to perfect it.
A lot of dedication.
And it's like you just have to like keep practicing. You'll get to do whatever you want to do. I'm still learning.
Going back to
day.
the graffiti, okay, Mo? Just saying.
I got.
Sketch it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just it. We can master whatever we like. You know, what she was inspired from Chicago, from its culture, from the streets, from the artists, from everything that the city brings. Know that you can do whatever you like. Everything's at arm's reach with a lot of work and dedication. And we see that through her work and through a lot of other amazing artists that we've had on our show and that I'm sure you are all familiar with because you all look up to them and say, wow, how do they do that? They have such a skill. Like maybe they just have a lot of dedication. So
you gotta love it.
You really
you
have
will
to
never
love
spend that all that time if you don't love what you're doing.
And what, when you were in school, what did you feel was a little more significant aside from like studies? Or even if it was studies.
Just
you mentioned your teacher.
Yeah, my teacher, the people, like other classmates, because seeing the kind of school I went to, like the age range was everywhere. You know,
That's
there
really
were
cool.
older people coming back to school. There's these kids straight out of high school, and everybody really, really vibed off each other. Like I can learn something from fashion students that I didn't really see in my work, but like I just love to see people's passions, and you can really see that, you know, at school, and that just kept me going.
That's awesome. Inspired by the people. So when did you take your hobby a little more serious and become like an actual photographer?
Ooh.
I know that's kind of hard, right? Like when people ask, well, what makes you an artist? It's like, I was told I was an artist. I think that's always like a very difficult question to answer as an artist. What makes a person an artist?
I
Or a
think
photographer?
it had to be like 2009, maybe. I was like, okay, do I just want to keep working this 9 to 5, or do I want to take a leap of faith? So I took the leap. I got really serious about it, though it took me 2 years to like classify myself as a professional photographer, because I would just be like, oh, I take pictures, you know. So yeah. So it took a while for me to like really get into it, and
2 years is not a long time.
yeah, like
That's really
like at that
great.
point, like people were like, well, you know, you should really do this all the time. I was like, it is what I do all the time, but okay, thanks.
And when you do it with love, you could see it through your work and you're able to get to that point. So it's been your dedication. God bless you for that. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
So you said that, yeah, and then you said something happened in your second year of college, that you said something clicked. Do you remember what that was?
I really can't remember. Maybe I seen like an interview with Joe Grimes or something. And he was just like, if you want to do it, just do it. And
Was
I
that
like,
one of your influences?
Yeah, Joe Grimes is the man. Like he's like, it's really like, if you look at my work, like it's really grungy. It may be dark, but it's clean at the same time. Like that's what I say, like grimy clean. Like that's how I kind of classify my work. And he influenced that big time. So I always looked at his work and listened to his interviews, and he was just like, you know, if you want to do this, just do this. Don't let anybody tell you when and what time that you can do the things that you love. So I was like, okay, I really want to do this. Can I do this? And then was like, you know what? I can do this. And I just jumped on it.
So when you believe in yourself and you love enough yourself to want to clone yourself, you can do whatever you like. Love it. You're freaking awesome. I'm really happy that I got a chance to meet Mo and have continued this relationship. And I want to continue to work with her. 'Cause we just found out that we're both producers with Can TV, so yeah, watch out. That's awesome. So what my next question was going to be, who were some of your earlier influences? Were there any other earlier influences that you had aside from like teachers, or are there any other photographers or artists in general that like
There's
have
a lot
inspired
of
you? Or
artists.
people.
Yeah, like
you know,
artists.
sometimes people.
My big mama always like, my big mama was like, she was really the church lady, but she like took it. She was like, whatever you want to do, baby. Like, don't let nobody tell you that you can't do it. And she was like the first person I really believed that said that. And like, she's always supported me, like my whole time being up here. Just been like, you know, just keep. I see what you're doing. Like, it was so weird. Like, this lets you know how small of a town Okmulgee is, right? So the first time I got published in a bigger magazine.
Mm-hmm.
They did a whole article in the newspaper, the local newspaper.
Congratulations.
Right, and then they sent it to me. I was like,
That's
this made it to the paper, like, it was really cool,
humble.
like, yeah, very humbling experience.
And that's really important to point out. Like, a lot of times we just feel like, oh, excuse me, we have a caller.
Oh, well, okay.
Yes, caller? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
I wanted to tell the artist that she's really a fantastic photographer, and I wanted to know what would she tell a young 18-year-old who's trying to start out on his path in photography and is just getting into what cameras to buy and what, I guess, his focus. I just want to know, what would you tell a young artist who's starting out?
I would tell him to not worry about trying to have the best camera and looking at all this big equipment. They always say the best camera that you have is the one that you have with you. So whatever you can afford that's catching the pictures, like, that's all you need. And just make sure that he shows himself in the work. Like, whatever inspires him or excites him, to make sure he puts that into his work. And to not, like, slack off on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for calling. That was cool. So I forgot what we were saying. That threw me off. Something clicked. Your earlier influences. We talked about your father. We were talking about believing in yourself and really putting your dedication into it, and we talked about your emotions. So I was going to move into your unique way of capturing emotions. How do you pick your subjects?
How do I pick my subjects? For personal work, it's just I'm looking at people and, like, maybe it's their hair that day, and I was like, oh, I should catch that, or their just how they are in their natural environment. You know, like, some people, it's not about necessarily what they're doing. It's just capturing their moments. Like, I like to sit kind of in the back of the room and just watch people do whatever they're going to do and catch those moments, because it's, like, it's very natural that way. And, like, these, like, fights is just, like, it's amazing amount of, like, just emotion that they're putting their all into it, and I just want to catch those moments.
And you do that very well. That was one of the things that really gravitated to me meeting your works. First, I just got to meet you and saw that you were brilliant and that you wanted to really inspire people. And I felt that directly from my heart. So then looking at your work, I was able to see that that's how you work. You're wholehearted. So you also mentioned that there's other art forms that you practice. You say you consider yourself a media artist, even though your entire dedication has been with photography and digital art. You want to talk to us a little bit more about the other art forms that you practice?
So, like, as far as my pictures, I always, like, wondered, how can I turn this into, like, a real piece of art? Because I do believe that just taking the picture and getting it printed up beautifully, that is fine art. I do understand that. But I've always, like, okay, how can I freak this? So I have a tendency, like, to layer stuff. Mm-hmm. So I take my graffiti. So I did a lot of time collecting spray paint in my graffiti days. And I figured, I was like, what can I do with all of this? So I kind of use it as the background to pictures. And then I will layer the pictures on top of it. Maybe I'll do something I wrote in it, you know. And so that as you're looking at a piece of art, like, it keeps on giving, you know. Like, you may see something different each time.
Yeah. We really look forward to seeing those pieces in some future, and again, we can always contact our guests directly through our website, and you can do so. We'd really like to see them. So I was going to move into the time that we met, which we mentioned earlier at Lake FX. You were with an organization, Hello Hip Hop, and Right Now Tour, and you do photography with both of them.
I do.
Yeah.
Photography, design, it's just awesome to be part of that, because it started as such a small thing. And it's like, now they're big enough to give back to the community, you know? And it's like, I like being part of something that's giving back to, like, the kids and the youth. Like, they just had a big fest maybe last week. There's just the kids performing, and they put on their own show so that they would, see what it's like to put on a show. And
That's
it's like,
awesome.
that's really cool, like, for kids to see that they can do it, because there's so much, negative stuff going on. It's nice to know that, hey, you can make it in the arts. You don't have to just be a basketball player.
Express
Yeah.
yourself. It's
Yeah.
important for the soul. I think we get caught up in trying to be politically correct, or, where we just really, really suffocate our hearts and never allow ourselves to express. And that's why everybody's so angry all the time. Yeah, so I was going to ask you how your work impacts our society, but I think saying all of that speaks for that answer. And I was going to ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, like, I hope to be doing more gallery work, and just going to see this world, capturing moments all around the world. That's my mission.
And you will. You're already doing it. Thank you again for being with us tonight. What I was going to say earlier, before our caller called, was about believing in ourselves. You were mentioning your mom. And I was going to mention how we oftentimes undermine ourselves because we feel, well, I don't matter. And that's one of the biggest things that S.H.E Gallery tries to, that's why we're doing this, to help build self-esteem and get to the root of all of the issues. They are political, because if we feel like we're not worthy of our vote, of our voice, then this is what happens, and it's happening right now. So it's really, really important to clog all of that out, clean out the weeds to let the flowers grow, and it starts with the self-esteem. And that's why art is so important, and that's why everything that we're doing is for the arts through education and to try to build this. So this is one person believing in one person, and now we have this amazing person inspiring so many other people, and it just keeps on going. It just keeps on giving, the giving that keeps on giving, like she mentioned, through her work. So it's a little bit more than just it looking cool. That's why art is so unique, but it also unites, and it allows for these communications, and to know that you're not alone, and you shouldn't feel weird, or you shouldn't feel like you can't. You just have to keep on going. I want to make a couple of quick announcements while we wrap up that S.H.E Gallery is working on. And I hope that maybe Hip Hop or Right Now Tour can maybe join us next year. Right now we're working on building the entire cast for our first performance art show, which will take place at the National Mexican Museum of Art here in Pilsen, in our neighborhood. It's such an honor to be able to actually put together our first production there, and it will focus on all of our previous exhibitions that we've had since the beginning of S.H.E Gallery, which is Paveway, Espíritu Monarca, Liberty Memoirs, and Solar System. So we're touching a little bit on the innovative roots of graffiti and how they've paved way to the crazed form of street art. We want to give back and always thank those innovators that continue to show their work and give them things. And then Espíritu Monarca is a cultural show. We'll touch on immigration, not just Mexican immigration, but we're all immigrants. So we want to touch on that. We're going to touch on Liberty Memoirs, which is all around womanhood, why we are so important, and we want to talk about equality through Liberty Memoirs. And we're also going to touch on Solar System, which is what unites us all. And just like she said, it will be a place for dreamers. We're looking for young children who play instruments, for break dancers, anybody that fits into that world. We'll have some light painting. We already have a pretty big cast going on, but this is what we're doing right now. So if you would like to take part of that, volunteer, please give us a call. We also have 2 exhibitions coming up at the end of this year for solo exhibitions for Redder and Piloto. Find out more through our website. And I'm also working with La Brocha and hosting an exhibition with them for the aging and the Alzheimer's. So more information on that shortly. And next year, we also, aside from the performance art show, we'll have, we're collaborating with Elephant Room Gallery, which is what we were doing at Lake FX Creative Con. So that'll be in January, but stay tuned. Please keep in touch, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Oh, next week, Rachel and Andrew. Good night.